Hi everyone, and welcome to another video. In this video I'm very pleased to have Wayne from the Full of It YouTube channel with me, join me in this video, and we run through our top 5 albums of the 90s that we both enjoy and love. And trust me, you really want to stick around to the end. It's a really great video. We both have a great chat about our favourite albums, and it's definitely worth watching out, holding out to the end. I'll stick a link to the Full of It YouTube channel down below. Wayne's got some great videos on there that are definitely worth checking out. So let's go dive straight in, and this is mine and Wayne's top 5 90s albums. So hi Wayne, here on the Britpop Buzz channel. We're going to be together doing this top 5 albums of the 90s, and it's a pleasure to have you on the channel.
Cheers, mate. It's great to be here.
I'm excited.
So do you want to start with your top 5?
Why not? I'll start. I'll go straight into there. And for number 5, I've picked, it's probably the latest album in the 90s. It's Rialto from 1998. And I've picked this because I feel Lewis Elliott, he doesn't get any credit as a songwriter, but the songs he wrote on that album, when I bought it on a whim, and I bought it in a, can't remember, a charity shop called Scope or something. And I put it on and I didn't know what to expect. I bought it because I thought it was 98, and it was just blew me away when I put it on. It was dramatic, it was theatrical, orchestral, and having the 2 drummers and his voice, yeah, it was just amazing. And I thought, wow, there's nothing else from 1998 like it. And it had the singles Monday Morning 519 and Untouchable. And I have to say, it's an album I listen to a lot. It's amazing.
That's a great start. I wasn't expecting that at all. So how did you come across this band?
Like I said, I bought it in a charity shop. I think I might have heard one song on a radio show called the Britpop Revival Show. That's on a Wednesday. They just play songs from across the 90s. As long as it's guitar based, they play it. And I think they played one song once. And like I've heard lots of songs now. I've heard one song and I found it later on, like 50p, and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to turn down 50p for a CD or an album, something. I'm just going to buy it, whether the rest of the album's rubbish or not. I've heard that one song, and this was just amazing. Yeah. I think it's better than the Manics album from 98. I think it's better than the Pulp album from 1998. It's better. It's better.
That's a great album, mate. Wasn't expecting that at all. So my number 5 is the Verve, A Northern Soul. So reason I've picked this,
I didn't want to put in then. I nearly said which one.
Yeah, A Northern Soul. I prefer this far more than Urban. As every song's a cracker. It's absolutely fantastic. This Is the Music is one of the singles they released. On Your Own, History. They're all great tunes. It's quite a psychedelic album as well. As I say, it's not the most obvious Verve, but I think it is their best. And I think it was the last album of the original lineup. So this was released in 1995. So, and it's even got Liam Gallagher clapping in one song, which I think it's History. So we've got Liam Gallagher.
I didn't actually know that.
He's hand clapping in there. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a great album. Love it to bits. Listen to it all the time. With Urban Hymns, I think, I don't know if some of the songs on there on that album was overplayed, and that's why I know more of my favourite album. But as I say, from start to finish, the album's just just a brilliant, beautiful album. It's very psychedelic. Couple of slow tracks on there that warm up, but I think this was probably the Verve at their best.
At the height, at the best, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, I like the Northern Soul album, and I do agree with you. There is a couple of slow burners on there that build up, and it's a good album.
It's not an album you can get into straight away with a Northern Soul. I never did. It took me a long time to warm to it. And I say the slow burners, you just get used to and appreciate the music that they did on that. So that's my number 5, the Verve, a Northern Soul.
I feel when people listen to Verve for the first time, if they go through it from urban hymns, they're quite surprised of what came before.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh yeah, even the look of the band.
Yeah.
If you look at some early performances, completely different look to what they ended up with. But that's my 5th.
Yeah. Right. I'm on to number 4 then. And for me, it is Blur's 1993 album, Modern Life is Rubbish. Now, I got into Blur through The Great Escape, that album. But then when it came to this, I felt like it's not poppy like Park Life and The Great Escape, but then it's not like Leisure that came before it had that little baggy sort of vibe to it coming to the end of it. It was a solid indie guitar album, and there's no poppy songs on it. It's just great indie guitar music, and it has the songs Villa Rosa on it, Star Shaped and Colin Zeal, and I feel all the songs are telling a story from start to finish. It's more like a poetic album in a way. And then after that, it just goes all poppy with Park Life that's so played all the time and everything. It's like, Modern Life is Rubbish, I feel, is their best album, and it's the one I pick out more than any other Blur album. Yeah,
I agree. I think that was probably their best. It took me a long time to get into them. I think it wasn't until all the Britpop died down that I started re-listening to the albums and started enjoying them. I don't know what it was. Nothing to do with Oasis, because I didn't really listen to Oasis that much through the 90s. But songwriting and as a frontman, I think Damon is one of the greatest. And musically, they are a great band. It's just a shame that, and I think they know this themselves, that the poppy stuff sort of was a bit annoying. Even though I don't mind Boys and Girls, I think that was a pretty decent track, but it's one of those that was overplayed throughout the 90s.
Yeah, I felt that, and like Country House just overshadowed everything else.
Yeah, definitely. And it does put you off a band sometimes when that happens. And I think I was put off, but now I sort of respect their music a little bit more. Yeah, that's a great album, mate. Oh, and so mine is fellow Brummies, Ocean Colour Scene, Moseley Shoals, and this was released in 1996, which is just a fantastic album. It got slated by the critics. I'm a big Small Faces fan, and I like the 1960s soul music, and I think they brought a little bit of that with this album. So it's got Paul Weller on as well. Paul Weller plays organ, bit of guitar and backing vocals on it. Big Paul Weller fan. Standout track for me was always Riverboat Song, which if you was a young lad in the 90s, you would have heard the start of the Riverboat Song with TFI Friday, which sort of got annoying after a bit. But there's just great songs on there. There's slow songs that build up quite fast. I mean, they could have probably dropped a couple of different songs on that album and put some better ones in, which they had on B-sides and stuff. But the more I listen to it, and it's an album that I listen to constantly, I think it flows quite well, even though it was, as I say, slated, which I think was uncalled for. But it was coined as Grandpa Rock or something, which is a little bit unfair. But it's absolutely great
I
album.
think it still is by some people.
Oh,
yeah, I
definitely.
think it's a little bit unfair.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think they've drawn their influence from the 1960s psychedelic, even though this album isn't that psychedelic, but the likes of Small Faces, Kinks, and bands like that. And I think they brought that to the 90s, and sort of the mod revival of the 90s came from that. And I think they're quite separate from Britpop as well. I don't think there was ever Britpop, even though they supported Oasis at Nebworth and done quite well. And they gathered a lot of fans from that. And I think this album actually got to #2 in the album chart. So they definitely had some fans out there. But I think it's a very underrated album. But one of my favourites of all time.
I have to agree. I have to say, it's like the comment you made, of all time. Of all time.
Yeah.
Like one of the comments you just said when I said Blur's Modern Life is rubbish, I got into it. I listened to the Riverboat song and it sort of put me off. It's one of them songs that put me off Ocean Colour Scene for a long time. But
Yeah.
I picked up the album and was like, oh, I'm just going to put it on and give it a listen. Because if I don't, it's forever going to just be put off. And I was amazed. I was quite surprised, like, oh, I'm actually quite liking this. Even though that song put me off, I was like, oh, I like this. I'm liking that. Yeah, yeah.
It's a great song. I mean, The Circle, You've Got It Bad. Pardon. A great songs.
I think the Circle is my favourite song on the album. Yeah.
Yeah, well, The Circle is actually a song about him visiting his friend in prison, I think, at Winston Green in Birmingham. And The Circle is the number 11 bus route that he used to take.
All right.
So, yeah. So they used to live up the road from me as well. Right. That's not the reason I like the album. I mean,
I didn't know that.
No. But yeah, I think he's a great vocalist.
Say that album. It's in stark contrast to the first album.
Yeah.
It's miles away. It's like you could have picked and put them two different complete musical categories from across the world. It's like,
yeah, completely. I think the first album was 1991. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
round about So 1991, and they never released Mosey Shoals until 1996. So that's quite a big gap. And I think the first album, they was big fans of early indie music like the Stone Roses and stuff like that. But yeah, completely different albums. You'd think there was different bands. Same sort of vocals. And I remember watching some documentary, and it said they took a long time to find their actual sound, and I think they did with Mosey Shoals. And I think the follow-up album after that, Marching Already, is a great album as well. Some really nice bass tracks on there. And, Simon Fowler, one of my favourite vocalists, frontman, and Craddock, just a fantastic guitarist. And then there's Oscar, which is I'm a drummer myself, and I use that loosely. And Oscar's just a fantastic drummer. I've watched them live that many times, and there's not much difference between the CD quality and the actual live performance. Just an absolutely fantastic band. So that's what is that, number 4? That was of mine.
That's number 4. Yeah. Right, I'll move on to number 3 then. And this number 3 could quite easily have been my number 2, and it's Cast and All Change from 1995. And I've picked this one because I have a memory as a child of being in the backseat of my car and the radio was on and it's Viking FM. And you know, on the radio, you sometimes get that 3-song section. So we're going to play 3 songs now, and they tell you what 3 songs are. And I always remember it went China in Your Hand, Mr. Big with what's the song? Be With You, and then Cast Walk Away. Now I don't know, it must have been around 96. And Walk Away is the song that I always remember from that trio of 3 songs on Viking FM. And I remember being sat in the back seat, the window open and the sun coming in. And it's Cast that got me into the 90s music and everything. And I remember picking the album up for the first time years later when I'd grown up or whatever. And I was like, I remember that song. And I come home and put it on. I was like, wow. And it just got me into everything. It opened all the doors, so to speak. And it was the first album in my collection. And I think John Power, now some people might say, oh, it's just the second Lars album. I don't think it is. I think John has his own writing style that evolved. Yeah, he might have got a little bit from the Lars, but the punchy songs on the album, Sandstorm and All Right, and you've got History and Fine Time and The Slow Walk Away. It's just great. I think the album's amazing from start to finish. It's just...
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was... They had that Liverpool sound like the Lars did. Having same band members within Cast probably eludes people to think that, but yeah, I think it was a completely different band. But they had that Liverpool sound, and he's I think with both vocalists, they had a strong accent that driv through the actual vocals as well. Yeah, great album. I nearly chose that myself. I had a chance. I got a chance to see Cast 4 years ago at Minehead, and it absolutely blew me away. The chills I had from his voice, which was so strong, the memories that flooded back from that gig, they're absolutely fantastic. And with Cast, I think they're overlooked sometimes of a great band they actually are. As you say, Sandstorm's probably definitely one of my favourite tracks of theirs. Walk Away is just a timeless song. You can listen to that any time. You could play that with a group of mates and everyone will sing along with it. Yeah, great choice that is. I nearly chose that myself. But if you get a chance to see him live, then grab it with both hands. So what year was that? Definitely. What year did they release that?
1995.
So it's mid-90s.
1995.
Yeah,
so it was smack in the middle.
The Lars album was 91, wasn't it? They only released one album.
I thought, it was just the one album. I thought it was 1990 or tail end of 89. I thought it was 1990. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah.
They said they never finished that Lars album. They finish it. The drummer now plays, the drummer out of Lars plays for Noel Gallagher now.
Oh, right.
I think he still does, yeah. So, yeah, talented drummer.
Yeah, and well, I read that John Power was actually started writing the songs for this album when he was still in the Lars. He was sat in back rooms because he was fed up of waiting for the Lars. Singer's name's gone off the top of my head now, and I should know it just like that.
Yeah, it's gone off my head.
But anyway, he was writing these songs because he was fed up with the Lars not going anywhere, just repeating the same things every show. So, yeah.
Yeah, so he seen it coming, didn't he?
Yeah.
He knew he had to.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah,
and good as well, because you would have missed out on some great songs if you didn't. If you didn't have that hindsight. Nearly chose that myself. So so this one's this one. A lot of people are not going to like this album, but I loved it from the day I brought it. I remember buying it, and it's Happy Mondays, Bummed. And I remember the day I was a young lad, and I walked into I walked into the record shop and I says, "Can I get Bummed by Happy Mondays, please?" Which I found comical. But I know a lot of people hate this album, but it's what can I say? It's messy music that I love from it, and this was released in 1990, so quite early. I think this was their second album. Yeah, it was their second album. It was actually 88, so yeah, so it was 88. So I've cheated there a little bit, mate. So, so I've cheated slightly, but it did go into the 90s. But
I don't know what it is about Happy Mondays, but I just can't get into them. I've never listened to Bummed. I don't know if it's the songs that I've heard. I'm just like, oh no, I can't listen to it for more than 2 minutes. I'm like, no, do my head in. Don't know what it is.
It's an hard album to listen to. I don't know if it's because I grew up with it. Because I've just noticed I did replace that album with a different album because it was 1988. But I'll go with the Happy Monday now anyway. But I did change it. I could see myself scribbled it out. But
oh right.
So I won't tell you what the other one was. Yeah, but I actually changed that when I found out it was 1988. So yeah, I think I've cheated a little bit there, but still, yeah. If you listen to Lazy Itis and Mad Cyril and stuff, it's just a really messy, swirly album, and it's another band I got to see live. And I think some albums, if you get early enough, you grow up with them, don't you? And I think that's what I did with this album. It just reminds me of so many different things. I was quite a young lad when I brought it, and I think that's basically what it is. It's not many Happy Mondays fans' favourite. Obviously, Pills, Thrills, and Bellyaches is, but for me, it was just a great messy album, and it annoyed a lot of people. I like some music that annoys friends or even family members, and this one did. They could never get it. I can't say any more than that. It's just one of my favourite albums. I think it's just something that I grew up with.
Yeah.
I had a feeling you wouldn't like that one.
When it's got songs that you love, you don't. No, I can't. I don't like it. I don't know if it's his voice or seeing him on the. I think the song Kinky Afro. It's the one that I think of, and I'm like, I can't. No, it's off. And I see other people listening, singing to it, and I'm like, oh no, I can't.
Yeah, well, that's Pills, Thrills, and Bellyaches. That one. That's
yeah, that's the other one. Yeah, I've not gone past it. I can't get past that.
I think you probably miss it. So if you can't take them straight away, probably you will not be a fan of Happy Mondays. And I'm quite aware that a lot of people can't take to them. It's a bit like the Streets in the early noughties. You either could listen to them or you couldn't listen to them. And I think the Happy Mondays are like that. And I think they brought a little bit of fun as well to music. They never took themselves serious, obviously. And I think Bummed album was before they actually got smashed on drugs, even though it sounds like they was smashed on their heads when they did this album. But I think this was the last time you got the Happy Mondays sort of doing an album sober. And I could be wrong there, but I think by the time they moved on to Pills, Thrills, and Bellyaches, it was all starting to go downhill for them. I'm
going to write it down and I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to go away. I'm going to go listen to it.
Don't moan at me.
By the end of this week, I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah, just give it. You've got to give it at least three tries, and you'll probably shake your head. But as I say, it was an album that I grew up with, and I just started adoring, and I've just carried it through life. And it's one I put on. It's one I put on, and it makes me smile even from the start. The first few lyrics on there, it just makes me giggle a little bit. And I think if an album can make you smile. But I am aware of how messy it is. So, yeah, think that was my third, and I cheated a little bit there, but still, I'm a lot older than you, so I'll probably.
Your number three. Your three. We'll let you off. We'll let you off.
Yeah.
Right. I'll move on to my number two then, and I think you probably think this is going to be my number one, but it's not. It's at number two, and that is the Menswear album, Nuisance from 1995.
Shocking. I would have put money on that would have been your number one.
And I knew you would. I knew you would. And it's because I know the band was just thrown together and they just came one day that was there, and 6 months later it all imploded and there was all young kids and everything. But when there was together and there was on TV, they weren't afraid to say what there was. There was on TV saying, yeah, we are the greatest Britpop band in the country. We are doing this. We are singing Britpop. This is what we're all about. And for that brief moment, that brief time period, 95 to 96, then they climbed to the top of the mountain. They were singing on smash hits. They had their album and the singles out. And they shouted out about being the best Britpop band around. And if you look past the song Daydreamer, which is the one probably most people remember out of any songs that they released, there are some good songs on that album. There's Sleeping In, and there's the ballad Being Brave, and then there's the more serious songs towards the end of the album, like Piece of Me. And I feel it's just overlooked sometimes when people go straight in for the Oasis's, Blurs and Pulps and Suedes, and they're just that in that forgotten time bubble because there's bigger albums around generating more money.
Yeah, I think that was definitely underrated band, most definitely. I would have thought it would have been your number one, but I think they're pretty much equal, these songs, these albums. Yeah, I'm never really massively into Menswear, but I've got a couple of albums, and I do think they're great. They're definitely an indie band, and I think they was a cult band as well. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is.
More than the mainstream. They had sort of a big year, didn't they?
They did, and I think a lot of people hate them with the passion. They hate them, and I think they don't get a fair crack of the stick sometimes. I've seen a lot of hate for them, and it's like there's no need for it.
No, definitely not. There was definitely a cracking band. And definitely worth listening to. So, what got you into Menswear?
What got me into Menswear? I have had a couple of conversations with the singer Johnny Dean on Twitter, and I think one of his tweets popped up, and it wasn't one of my first choices whatsoever. And I was like, oh, I've not actually heard this band before. And I didn't have a massive conversation with him. It was all like, oh, he was like talking about something else, like promoting some of his songs and that. I was like, oh, I'll go away and have a listen. And I went, and it was literally, then I went away and found it up the street in a Help the Aged or something. And it was with a Supergrass album. And I can't remember what the other one was, but there was all there. And I come home just like I did with the Rialto one, and it was like, oh wow! I was only talking to him the other day in the same sort of conversation, and it's like, oh. So then I've gone out and I've got the box set release from last year, and I'm still on the hunt for an original copy of the second album, but that's hard to come by nowadays. So,
is it really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was only released in Japan.
Oh, gosh.
It never got a UK release, so it's like, oh, unless it comes up on eBay, someone in Japan selling it, or yeah.
I think I've got a bootleg album of theirs. I'll have to check that out, see which one that is.
Yeah, I've got the second album. Like it came in the box set that they released last year, but
did I see you do a video on Menswear recently?
Yeah, but it was the unboxing,
Yeah, that's it.
me
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
opening it and going through it. Yeah, yeah.
He was quite careful with that one. Definitely more careful than I would be.
It don't come out now. Now it's all transferred digitally. It don't come out.
Yeah, well, I do the same now. I put mine digitally. You know, I've ruined too many CDs, and I regret it now. So yeah, that's a great album. My number two is going to be an obvious one, but and I don't think you're a fan of these either. Is Inspiral Carpets, Life.
I am actually. I like Inspiral Carpets. I
One
do.
of my favourite
I
bands.
think.
One of my favourite bands, and this was their debut album, released in 1990, and probably their best album. I got to see them live. I got to see them live 91, and then I went to see them live for a reunion 2002, I think it was. Even got to hug Tony Hingley,
Oh
which
yeah.
he came back for another hug. So yeah, I absolutely adore this band. As soon as I got the album, it's quite fast, slightly psychedelic. It was quite different to anything that I had at the time. So I would have brought it in 1990 as well, and just became a great fan. The only song that sort of grates me a little bit is "This Is How It Feels," and I think that was overplayed by everybody, even including myself. And if I ever put the album on, all my friends used to ask for that song. It started to annoy me. But you got songs like "She Comes in the Fall," "Directing Traffic," "Move." They're all absolutely great tracks. Uh, absolutely fantastic. As Craig Gilly, who's the drummer, sort of inspired me to play the drums back in the day. Even though I started playing about 5 or 6 years after that album, but I just it inspired me more to listen out for different sounds within music as well. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
my number
She Comes in
two.
the Fall is my favorite song of theirs, and then Saturn V off a later album. It's my second favorite song of Inspiral Carpets. Yeah.
Yeah, well, "Move" is
Yeah.
a great track. As I say, probably the weakest one is "This Is How It Feels," but it's a great little track. It's a great little story. Um, but yeah, and it's quite a fast album. There's a couple of slow starts on a few of the songs, but apart from that, absolutely fantastic. If anyone that hasn't got this album should get it. So yeah, that's
Definitely. Yeah.
and a great live as well. Well, when the original lineup, obviously you're not going to see the original lineup again. But yeah, absolutely great live. It's especially in the 90s because it had that sort of rave scene feel, and everyone had their bloody luminous neon tops on and stuff like that, and long hair. And
Yeah.
I think they was
That
famous.
time period when that came out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was like nothing else really.
Yeah.
And you know, they faded out, and I don't think they're as popular as. I think their height of popularity was probably 92, 93, and then sort of faded out. And I think they split up not long after that. But yeah, great band. So that's my number two.
Well, my number one, you
Drum
could
roll.
say, and I don't know if you know about this band or you listen to this sound, have a similar sound to Inspiral Carpets. And my number one is the album Slinky by the Milton Brothers from 1991.
I'm going to have to be honest, and either can't remember them or I don't know them.
And this is out of this album I can listen to I could listen to it every day from start to finish with this, just because the songs, the Nelson brothers, Matt and Simon Nelson, and the songs Apple Green, Which Way Should I Jump, and Something Cheap. From start to finish, it only reached number 7 in the charts. I've written a bit more down for this one because it's my number 1. But I feel them songs should have made them stars. Should have pushed them to the forefront, because they've got they're playing the organ. It's safe like Charlatans and Inspiral Carpets. They've got the organ sound and they're there, but I don't know, for whatever reason, just never happened for them. And they released the second album, and similar to the Inspiral Carpets, within 2 or 3 years, it was gone. Until a few years ago when they've come back. But
yeah, you do find that.
That is my number 1, Slinky by the Milton Brothers.
I'm going to have to check that out. I think with some bands, the early 90s, I think there was that many bands coming through that some would be overlooked. I mean, maybe we'll do another video on obscure bands. Well, we will. And some great bands never seen the light of day. I mean, I can't say no off the top of my head, but yeah, that was probably one of them, and that was probably the amount of bands coming through at the time. I'm not sure, I don't know, but yeah, shame when that happens. But I'll have to check that out. I dare say once I've listened to them, I'll remember.
Oh yeah, definitely do.
So I'll check that out. So my one now, I do get obvious, but this is just a cracking album. And I was talking to a friend about it the other night as well. And he reckons one song lets it down. It's the Stone Roses. Stone Roses. That was released in 1989. And I think this changed. It changed music from that point onwards. There's so many bands I think you wouldn't have got if it wasn't for the Stone Roses releasing this album. Like Oasis, like Ocean Colour Scene, and I think the when you listen to this album, and I mean I play the drums myself, is how great Rennie is as a drummer. I'd say he was the best drummer throughout the 90s. Well, they didn't last too long, but he was definitely the best drummer, and inspired a lot of music to go that way. So if you listen to Rennie's drumming, you hear a lot of bands trying to put that in their music as well. And you got Made of Stone, and then
trying to replicate the sound.
Yeah, they tried to replicate that sound. If you listen to Ocean Colour Scene's first album, Oscar's trying to play sort of Rennie's sound, and I think a lot of other bands did the same. Which is great. I mean, and you, John Squire's great guitarist. Ian Brown, you can't call him a great vocalist, you can't, but he made that. He makes
sound. The best of the songs he's got. Yeah,
but I couldn't imagine anyone else being in that position. And they reckon some of his live performances that he did that weren't great. It was because of John Squire playing too loud with his guitar, so he could never hear himself. And I've listened back to some live performances, and I can see that that John Squire played far too loud. But yeah, they milked it. They got Made of Stone as released that as a single. She Bangs the Drums, I Want to Be Adored, and on the Resurrection, I think Waterfall as well was one. My favourite song off the album is Sugar Spun Sister, which just a great track within itself. But as I think it changed music completely, and it's an album that it doesn't age at all, I don't think. And they took a lot from 60s sounds, even 70s sounds, and you could call it a 1980s album, but I'd say it's more of a 90s album because it sort of followed.
Yeah, through. I think if it had come out even 2 years later, it had had the same effect. If it had come out 2 years later,
yeah, I think so.
The same effect on everybody as it did.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so, most definitely. And I think it's still like
My
holds up.
favourite song on. Yeah, it still holds up. My favourite song is Made of Stone,
Yeah,
and I was a latecomer to Stone Roses. I listened to a lot of '90s music, and everything seemed to go back to them. And at one point, I was just like, right, I'm just going to have to go all the way back, sort of back to the beginning. I'm just going to have to go all the way back and listen to it and see what people are saying all the time. And I've been and listened, I've got it, and yeah, I have to agree with you. It's a top quality album.
it
How
is.
did you get into the Stone Roses? What was your first?
Well, I got into Stone Roses. I would have been a young lad. I would have been when I don't know if you was aware. You're younger than me, but when in the late 80s, early 90s, you had a lot of music shows on throughout the Saturday morning, and there used to be a music show called the Chart Show, and I remember Fool's Gold coming on. I'd already heard Sally Cinnamon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already heard Sally Cinnamon, but never paid any attention to it. And my sister went and brought Fool's Gold 12-inch. Even though I knew I liked the song, I just wasn't ready to buy anything of theirs. And she brought it back and she kept on playing it. And on the B side and the 12-inch, I think it was What the World Is Waiting For. I can't remember the other one. And they were just fantastic tracks. And I thought, this is different. And you got to remember that around about 89, you still had Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan and I think the not Backstreet Boys, some boy band from America. And they were sort of dominating everything. Music sort of got dry around about that time. And then I got to see him on Top of the Pops with Happy Mondays, which blew my mind. I think I'd brought something by then. I think I brought the album by then. But I sort of knew there was a scene being made. I knew there was the clothes was changing, people was wearing, and then the turn of the 90s, everyone was wearing baggy clothes, started growing their hair long, and once I started buying the singles as well, and I brought them on vinyl back then. I think you could only get them on most of them on vinyl, and the B sides was just as good as the A sides. So Made of Stone, I could be wrong, but I think Made of Stone had Going Down on the back of it as a B-side, and that was just, by the time I worn Made of Stone away on the A side, I turned over the B-side and Going Down. I thought, just a fantastic band. I liked the vibe, the melodies, the songs they were singing sort of related more to my life, even though I was a young lad. And I just took it from there. I mean, I was gutted when they split up and never heard anything from them for a long time after, but they set me up for a different taste of music then. So I was looking out for the Charlatans, Inspirals, all that stuff, you know, getting into the indie scene, even liking a little bit of rave music as well, you know, which I quickly grew out of. But you could taste that there was something in the air, there was something different that was happening. And I think that's what Stone Roses gave us. So really, it's thanks to my sister buying the 12-inch, and then I took it from there.
Well,
so yeah,
well done to your sister for introducing you to that sound.
Thanks, Michelle. I don't think she became a massive fan of them herself, but yeah, Fool's Gold's quite different, and that wasn't on the album, you see. But I think we had
that did have that sort of ravey song about ravey vibe about it. It was like,
which is a great song as well.
If you just listen to that, you'd have the misconception of that's the sort of band they are, because they're not.
No, it's quite. You could call it a sort of a folky psychedelia. The self-titled album. Drum driven tracks. But Fool's Gold it makes you think really what if they would have carried on and they didn't have the dispute with their record label and management, what they could have brought out, maybe another 2 albums straight after each other, or is that all they had in them? I mean, you had Second Coming, which I think I could be biased, but I think that was a great album as well. Nowhere near as good as the first album, but I think there's a couple of tracks that let it down a little bit. But you know, you got Love Spreads and a few other tracks on there which are cracking tunes. But you could sort of feel that it was an unfinished album with Second Coming, where Stone Roses. I mean, it just sets us up for the 90s, I think, and it was good. It sort of ended all that bloody Stockhake and Waterman stuff for a bit. So yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah,
I think a great album.
No, it's a great album. It's a great album. Great choice. Great choice.
I think we've both got some great choices there. One, I don't know, one of yours, which is quite embarrassing, but as you say, it's quite obscure, isn't it? Yeah, 10 good albums. Yeah, and I'd advise people to go out and check them. If not, if you've already got them,
yeah, I would.
Again. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So I will confess that I did change the Bummed album because I found out it was 1988 to Charlatans, Some Friendly.
I've been sat here waiting. It's going to say the Charlatans next. And I'm like, I was trying to all right, he's changed his mind there.
I'm trying to I love the Charlatans, and you know what? It was a toss up between Telling Stories and Some Friendly, and I'm trying not to be a hipster over my choice. I just want to, you know, I chose them through pure love of the albums, and Some Friendly just tipped it really. Even though Telling Stories,
Some Friendly is a great album.
It is. Yeah.
Oh no, not so. Yeah, Telling Stories is a great album. They're both great albums, but my view on the Charlatans, I don't know if you have the same view. I still class them as a underrated band of the 90s. They just seem to coast along under the mainstream, never quite cracking the top. There's just always changing. They changed the sound slowly across the whole decade, not one album, one sound, one album the next. It was just a gradual.
I had a feeling though they preferred it that way. A bit like Ocean Colour Scene.
Yeah.
As soon as Ocean Colour Scene started becoming too big, then they sort of quieted down a little bit, even though they carried on making albums all the time. But I think the Charlatans enjoyed that sort of cult following. I mean, they before all this happened the last 2 years with the Lurgy, shall we say? They could sell out a tour pretty easy. It wouldn't be big venues, but they knew they could travel the UK and probably Japan and places like that and sell out. But yeah, I can't even think how many albums they've made, but they've made a fair few. I mean, they must have made 5 albums through the 90s, and carried on through the noughties and to this day. I mean, they released something a couple of months ago. But yeah, and I'm quite gutted really, because when I thought about it, I do actually think Some Friendly is better.
To this day, they've got a new album coming out this year.
Yeah. And I'm hoping to go and see them. So I'm hoping to go and see Shed 7 as well in December in Brum. It's quite a distance for you to come down, isn't it?
Nice. That'll be a good night.
If you fancy catching a train down,
I might consider. I'll see how the Lurg is going.
I know, that's the thing. As I told you, didn't I? We went to Minehead, a few mates, I think about 6 years ago, and we've seen some great bands. Hopefully, it's Shine On, the company that does the promoting of these.
After our last talk, and you mentioned it, I did remember what it was. Yeah, Shine, because they've got another one this year. Yeah.
So, but that was Minehead, so that's miles away from where you are. So I don't know if they do some in other Butlins and places like that. But being Butlins, it put me off slightly, you know, being Butlins, and you think, oh God, that's a bit cheesy. But it was absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. So hopefully I can do that again. And I think the year after there was Black Grape there as well. So I would have liked to go and see.
Oh, if I thought Happy Mondays were bad, Black Grape. Oh my goodness. Oh,
Sean Ryder, Sean Ryder, if you're listening to this, you need to have a word.
Yeah, Sean. I think he's a funny guy when he's not singing. I watch him on telly and he's funny. I laugh, but when he's singing, it's like no.
I think my love for him is growing up with him, going to see him live.
Yeah.
You know, rose tinted glasses sort of thing. But I do listen to their songs and I do smile and I do get a little chuckle and stuff like that. So even to this day, especially with Bummed, I mean the title in itself, you know. So if an album could do that, then it's worth, you know, keeping as one of your favourites. But as I say, it was a toss up between the Charlatans and Happy Mondays. But yeah, I'd put probably 3 Charlatans albums in my top 30 albums of all time anyway. So we could probably put that in one of our different videos. We could probably talk about the Charlatans as one side of obscure but overlooked.
Overlooked bands, because I think there is that definition of overlooked and obscure. I could pick another 5 albums out that are bands that I think are overlooked, and then go one step further and go obscure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Right, mate.
Because there was 2 or 3 that I nearly. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, carry on. Sorry.
No, yeah. Because I nearly put in Long Pigs and Marion in my top 5 that I feel are overlooked.
Yeah. Well, I seen an Instagram post of yours of Marion, and I thought, I wonder if that's one of his for today.
I don't remember doing that. Maybe I have. Yeah, can't remember.
I'm sure you have. So yeah, mate, fantastic.
Yeah.
I think we'll end it there, and
yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me.
No, thank you. No, thanks. It's been a great video, and I hope people watch it to the end and I've been really enjoyed this chat. It's been really good.
Yeah, and anyone in the comments, let us know what your top 5 is.
Oh yeah, please. Any comments, leave them below. Be great. Really interested to see what people have to say about the bands we've chosen.
Yeah, well, I don't get many comments, so just a comment to do, people.
Yeah, and I don't get many comments at all.
No, I think you will. I think your talent is in trying to interview some of these old geezers from these bands. I think that. Oh, you got an announcement?
I did an interview last night. And it's I know it's probably only my second one, but it's a call. I think it's good. I think it's a good interview. Yeah.
So yeah, keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers for watching, everyone. I'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thanks to everyone who stuck around right to the end to watch the end of the video. I hope it was a bit surprising when you got to the end there. Thank you to Wayne for joining me on the channel and doing this together. It was really great fun to run through our top 5 90s albums, or in your case, Wayne, top 5 late 90s and late 80s albums. But they're your favourite albums and that's what you like. So, yep, thank you, Wayne, and hopefully we can do some more videos together in the future. Thanks to everyone who stuck around to the end once again, and also hit that subscribe button and smash that thumbs up, and I'll see everybody next time.